What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another one. If you were new to the channel, I am Gold Pony, and today we are in the new 2020 Toyota RAV4, courtesy of Hanover Toyota in Hanover, PA. And so why you should be excited about this one? Well, of course, it's got stellar reliability. You can just look at a Consumer Reports magazine for that. It's one of the best, if not the best in the class. Not to mention the RAV4 is the best-selling SUV in America. That is year after year, I feel like. And there are actually plenty of changes for the 2020 RAV4. So what do you say? Let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, let's start with pricing. And so in typical Toyota fashion, there are a plethora of trim levels available for the RAV4. First one being the LE, and the one we are in today, starting at $25,850. XLE starting at $27,145. XLE Premium for $29,850. Adventure starting at $32,955. Next one is a new trim level for 2020 TRD Off-Road starting at $35,180. And the Limited starting at $34,380. And of course, I didn't want to go without mentioning the hybrid trim levels for the RAV4 as well. Those are going to include the LE Hybrid, $28,100, XLE Hybrid for $29,395, XSE Hybrid for $34,050, and Limited Hybrid for $36,630. So like I said, tons of trim levels. So you have to imagine there is something for everybody when it comes to the RAV4. But then moving on to the power plant, there of course are two different setups, of course, one of them being for the hybrid, the other being for every other trim level essentially. Either way, power is going to be derived from a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated inline 4-cylinder engine, putting out 203 horsepower at 6,600 RPM, and by the way, 219 combined horsepower for the hybrid, and 184 pound-feet of torque available at 5,000 RPM. Of course, power sent to the front wheels or all wheels, and by the way, all-wheel drive is an added $1,400 for all trims but the Adventure and the TRD Off-Road. For those two particular trim levels, that is of course going to come standard on those two, but we do happen to have that optional all-wheel drive in our LE today, so that's always nice. And another little fun fact, if you were to go with hybrid, all hybrid trim levels are actually going to come standard with all-wheel drive, just in case you were curious there. But power is going to be sent to the ground through an 8-speed automatic for non-hybrid trim levels, and you will actually get a CVT if you were to go with the hybrid trim levels. But so when you add all that up together, when it comes to MPG numbers, that comes in at 28 city, 35 highway for the front wheel drive, 25 city, 33 highway for the all-wheel drive, and of course the hybrid coming in at 41 in the city, 38 on the highway. That 41 number in the city, that is of course majorly impressive for an SUV especially. But anyways, before we get into any kind of accelerations or anything like that in this new RAV4, I did want to mention some drive modes that come standard on this one. And those drive mode buttons are located just to the left of the shifter, but they are going to include Eco, Normal, and Sport. That is the setup that you're going to get with all trim levels. However, I did want to mention the hybrid trim level is going to add an EV mode. In case you were curious what that is essentially that's going to let you operate on battery power alone. And so ultimately all these drive modes there, they're going to adjust things like the shift points, throttle response, and actually the steering sensitivity as well. So what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and put it in sport driving mode here. And it did immediately downshift, so it's going to hold the RPMs at a little higher level, giving you more power on demand, and actually a noticeably heavier weight to the steering wheel. I really like that actually. Toyota's been doing really good with their drive modes, I will say that. A lot of manufacturers, when you hit the sport mode, it's just like, did the steering feel really change? I don't know, but with the Toyota, specifically with this RAV4, it does. So I like that. It kind of gives you something for everybody, because I do prefer a heavier weighted steering wheel, so that sport mode is definitely where it's at for me at least. But you guys, I think, know what we have to do next. Now that we have put it in sport mode, let's go ahead and do a quick little acceleration here, and let's see how quickly we can get this new 2020 Toyota RAV4 here up to speed. And here we go. It's all right. Certainly no issues with merging onto the highway. Not the most power you're ever gonna feel, but yeah, it's okay. It certainly will do the trick for the RAV4, we'll just leave it at that. But so then to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so up front, you will find 12-inch ventilated front discs. In the back, 11.1-inch ventilated rear discs. And as far as the braking feel goes, it's been absolutely excellent today. So certainly no issues with bringing the RAV4 to a stop there. Touching on suspension and handling a little bit, you're gonna get a McPherson strut front suspension with the stabilizer bar. In the back, a multi-link rear suspension, again with the stabilizer bar. And I did want to mention with with the XSE Hybrid. And you might not think a hybrid would actually have this suspension setup, but XSE traditionally being one of Toyota's sportier trim levels, that is actually going to give you a sport tuned suspension, believe it or not, on a hybrid RAV4. That is pretty cool. But TRD tuned suspension, of course, also coming standard on the TRD off-road, and that is pretty much as expected, but that's pretty darn cool as well. But that's going to give you unique shocks, unique struts, red painted coil springs, and multi-terrain select modes as well. Those terrain select modes are going to include mud and sand, rock and dirt, snow, and normal, of course, and they're essentially designed to help minimize wheel slip and give you better traction in those kind of conditions. So that's definitely a plus as well. But putting all of that off-road stuff aside, as far as ride quality goes, it's been perfectly fine for me. Certainly no issues there, soaking up Pennsylvania's road imperfections quite nicely. Again, steering feel is brilliant, especially in that sport driving mode. And again, if you didn't want a heavier weighted steering wheel, then you can of course just take it out of sport driving mode, but I prefer it. It gives you a little better connection to the car, or the RAV4 in this case, but that's why I like it. And as far as cabin noise goes, it's a little bit, but certainly not too bad. It is kind of windy here today in PA, so do get a little bit of that, but it's not too bad. Then touching on visibility, I can see perfectly fine out the back, and quite honestly, I would say it's even one of the best in its class. Rear visibility is absolutely excellent, honestly. And also, I did want to mention, touching on visibility here, there are actually rain sensing windshield wipers that are optional for select trim levels like the TRD off-road and the limited trim. So that about rounds out the performance segment of this review. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of this brand new 2020 Toyota RAV4. All right, you guys, here it is. So first thing I wanted to touch on starting up front here is the ground clearance, because it's actually a good bit and it's going to differ between the trim levels on the RAV4 here. For instance, all hybrid trim levels are going to give you 8.1 inches of ground clearance up front here. The non-off-road trims, including this one, the LE, that is going to give you 8.4 inches of ground clearance. And lastly, the Adventure and TRD off-road trims are going to bump that up to 8.6 inches of ground clearance, just in case you were curious. So thought that was worth mentioning, because the off-road trim levels do give you a little more. I think that's pretty cool. But taking a look at the front grille, it's actually going to differ slightly amongst the trim levels. You're going to get a little more chrome and aluminum accents if you were to go with the limited, for instance. You're going to get some dark accents if you were to go with the TRD off-road, or probably the LE that we have here today as well. But taking a look to the sides, LED headlights are actually going to come standard on every single trim level. Well done, Toyota, for that. That is going to come with the automatic feature, meaning when it starts to get dark out at night, the headlights will turn on automatically for you there, so that's always convenient. LED daytime running lights also are going to come standard, and if you wanted fog lights, although we don't have them today, you can get them on the XLE trim level and up. I should put it as they will come standard on the XLE trim level and up, and LED fog lights are actually only going to come on one trim level, being the new TRD off-road trim, just in case you wanted some of those. But let's go ahead and make our way to the sides here. Roof rails will come standard on every single trim level. Rear privacy glass is also going to come standard on all trims. Did want to mention there is a two-tone color scheme that is available if you wanted to go that route as well. Let's take a look at the mirrors here real quick. Body colored power adjustable side mirrors will come standard here. That is of course what you were looking at right now, and they will be heated with integrated turn signals, as you guys are looking at right here on our LE trim level as well, so that's always nice. But zooming out and taking a look down at our wheel setup here, 17-inch steel wheels with covers you can find on the LE trim level. That of course is what you're looking at right now. 17-inch 5-spoke alloy wheels will come with the XLE, and also most hybrid trim levels, with the exception of the XSE, is actually going to give you 18-inch alloy wheels. But continuing on, 19-inch alloy wheels for the XLE Premium, Adventure, and Limited, and you are going to get 18-inch flow-formed alloy wheels for the TRD off-road trim level, so that is pretty cool too. But let's go ahead and make our way to the back now. I did want to first start by mentioning that shark fin antenna sitting up top between the roof rails there. And then of course you have the rear spoiler with an integrated brake light that is going to come standard on all trim levels. Just below that, rear window wiper. Also, all trim levels are actually going to give you LED taillights. That is pretty darn sweet. A lot of manufacturers don't give you LEDs that come standard. So once again, well done Toyota for that. Of course, just below that, got some trim level badging, and just below all of it, dual exhaust outlets with chrome tips for every single trim level. So I think you guys know what we have to do next. As always, here is that exhaust clip. so now since we are around back, you guys, when it comes to opening that rear lift gate, of course, with the LE trim level, you simply just lift up underneath. That is pretty standard for the bottom trim level. But if you did want a power lift gate, simply go with the XLE premium trim level and up. So that is going to be there for you if you wanted it. Once opened up, cargo capacity is going to come in at 37.5 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, there of course is a 60-40 split, meaning those rear seats do fold down, bumping that up to 69.8 cubic feet, so decent amount of space back there. Did want to also mention a rear cargo area cover will come with the XLE trim level and up. We of course also have it today as an option. And also in that cargo area, there's a little tray area to the right back there, and just underneath of the floor of the cargo area there, you're going to find that spare tire and all the tools you need to swap that out, but there's a little bit of extra space there. I guess you could throw a couple things in there if you wanted to, but making our way to the rear legroom, that is going to come in at 37.8 inches. So for reference, I'm an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I have back there. Did want to also mention for those rear passengers, there is a rear center armrest with cup holders. That is going to come standard across the board. That's definitely nice. Rear ventilation you can find on the XLE trim level and up. Honestly, it's kind of a smaller SUV. You might not need it, but it is nice to have it, I guess. Also, a little luxury feature for those rear passengers, there are heated rear seats available for the limited trim. So it's not going to come standard with the limited, but it is optional. So I did want to mention that as well. But overall, I got to say I was pretty comfortable back there, so certainly no issues for me. But let's go ahead and make our way up to the front seats. Manually adjustable front seats with a cloth finish is what you're looking at right now, and that is going to come standard with the LE trim level. You will find an 8-way power driver's seat with the XLE, a soft text upholstery if you go with the XLE Premium, Adventure, or TRD off-road trim levels, and you're going to also get memory settings with the limited trim level, as well as heated front seats there if you went with that limited. But taking a look now at the steering wheel, it is tilt and telescoping. You will get a leather wrap steering wheel for the XLE Premium trim level and up. And if you wanted a heated steering wheel, it's not going to come standard on any particular trim level, but it is optional on the XLE Premium trim level and up if you wanted it. But let's go ahead and make our way now to the startup. Let me first start by showing you guys the key here. You do have your Toyota logo on the one side, and you got lock and unlock on the other side. Pretty basic key, and it is a switchblade key, so to speak, for the LE trim level, at least that we have here today. But if you did want to push button start, you actually can get it on the XLE Premium trim level and up. I feel like the XLE Premium is really where all the features start to jump in, to be quite honest. But once started up, tachometer is on your left, speedometer is on your right, and there is a small digital display front and center which can be controlled by using the steering wheel mounted controls on the left side there. That's going to give you things like how many miles you have left until you'd hit empty. There's a digital speedometer. There's your average miles per gallon at any given time. One of the coolest things on that digital display though is the speed limit recognition technology that comes standard on all trims, and I'll get more into the safety later. But during my short test drive today, there has been a small speed limit sign located in the upper left hand corner constantly telling me the speed limit of any given road so I don't get pulled over in this test drive. So that is absolutely wonderful. I think all cars should have that, specifically my Mustang, but that's besides the point. But I do love that every single trim, even the LE, is going to get that on the RAV4. So well done Toyota for that. And of course you could check out the rest of your safety settings up there, radio settings, and a couple other things there as well. But making our way to overall interior quality, power moonroof is going to come with the XLE Premium trim level and up. Home link controls are going to come with the limited trim level. All trim levels are going to get an overhead sunglass holder found up on the roof there. And there's a couple different trim levels that's going to adjust the color of the stitching on the interior. For instance, if you were to go with the TRD off-road trim level, you're going to get red stitching throughout. If you went with the Adventure trim level, however, you will find orange stitching throughout. So I thought that was pretty cool. And we have some, I guess, gray stitching, I guess, in our LE trim level that we have today. But overall, since we do have the LE, elaborating a little more on what we got here, there is a small cargo area just above the passenger side glove box there. It is not a rubberized bottom, but it is a little bit of storage that you have there. Just in front of the shifter, you got a little more storage space, as well as a 12-volt power outlet and a USB charging port. Just behind that, there's the electronic parking brake, as well as all of your drive modes. That's pretty cool too. Just behind that, you have a couple cup holders, and then when it comes to the center armrest, there of course is some storage within that as well. But overall in our LE trim level today, it's a pretty basic finish. So for the price, for the reliability that you're getting, and for the best-selling SUV in America, it's certainly not all that bad for me. But let's go ahead now and take a look at the tech display. This is again going to differ amongst the trim levels. 7-inch color touchscreen display you will find with the LE, XLE, and XLE premium trim levels. That of course is what you're looking at right now. However, if you were to bump up to the Adventure trim level or any trims above that, you are going to get an 8-inch color touchscreen display. But the cool thing about 2020, and one of the major changes for most Toyota models this year, is that either setup that you go with, you're going to of course get Bluetooth and audio streaming, but also Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. For the first time ever in the RAV4, you have both of those, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and so that's going to give you free navigation. If you have a smartphone, all you need to do is simply hook it up through a USB cable, and you got free navigation up there. Also, it's going to allow you to like and dislike your Pandora songs up there. There's a couple other apps it's compatible with as well, but I use that every day in my own car. It's definitely something you will absolutely love once you get it, for anybody who has not already had it before. If you wanted a factory navigation system, although you don't really need it, simply go with the limited trim level. It's going to come standard there. And you can actually also check out your driving statistics up on that display screen at any given time. Of course, radio settings can be displayed up there as well. And by the way, when it comes to the speakers or the sound system on the RAV4, you will find 6 speakers for all trim levels but the limited. That limited trim is actually going to give you an 11-speaker JBL sound system with the subwoofer, although we don't have that one today. So you guys know what we have to do next. As always, let's go ahead and turn on the radio, see what we got playing this morning, and let's test out the clarity of this 6-speaker sound system we have in our RAV4 today. Quite honestly, for a 6-speaker sound system, it had a really good bit of bass. I was actually completely impressed with that. That sound system honestly would be perfectly fine for me. But so then last thing on the tech display, at least I wanted to mention to you guys, is when you do put the RAV4 in reverse, you of course will find a rear view camera for all trim levels across the board, letting you know who or what is behind you, which is always going to lead us into safety. And so first thing I wanted to mention when it comes to safety, I always like to mention this first, if it applies at least. The Toyota RAV4 is an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, which is the very highest rating that IIHS gives out. So it's got that going for it, and that's really a big plus, quite honestly. Front side curtain airbags will come standard, driver's knee airbag as well. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers for children for the rear car seats. Also standard back there, rear child door locks. There's a tire pressure monitoring system, but as I was mentioning earlier, one of those safety features, the traffic sign recognition, that is part of a overall safety system Toyota calls Safety Sense 2.0, which will come standard on all trim levels. And that is going to not only include that road sign assist, but also a pre-collision system with pedestrian detection, lane departure alert with steering assist, lane tracing assist, automatic high beams, and full speed dynamic radar cruise control. And just so you guys know, a lot of those safety features are either found on the very top trim levels of other manufacturers, or it's available as an added option for a lot of other manufacturers out there. So it is pretty cool that Toyota does that. Did want to also mention for the XLE trim level and up, that is also going to add a blind spot monitoring system with rear cross traffic alert. And so that is about it for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on social media at the bottom of the screen there if you like. And if you haven't noticed already, feel free to support the channel by buying some merch just below the video here. Be sure to hit the subscribe and the bell notification button if you're into new car reviews. That is what we do here on this channel after all. Do appreciate you guys watching more than you know, and I will see you guys all in the next video or review. Stay gold.